Hello everyone. Welcome to a video, and in this video we are going to talk about using boiling water for green tea. I've seen 2 or 3 content makers on Instagram recently say that high quality green teas you can use boiling water, and I think they even said you should use boiling water for high quality green teas. So we're not only going to talk about using boiling water for green teas, but we're also going to talk about this term high quality. And I think there's a connection there. I hear you, pumpkin. You have a big tongue. I have pumpkin under the table. There's pumpkin. Johnny is over there. You can see her lying down. Izzy's under the table. As you can see, I am not in my usual tea studio. I am downstairs in my living dining room. Because I'm moving to Hangzhou on Monday, and so I'm cleaning up the upstairs, and I've moved everything down, and I'm cleaning up the upstairs, and then I'll clean this up on the last day. Still got to figure out the logistics of that. So, boiling water green tea. Can you use boiling water to brew green tea? Sure. Why the fuck not? You can use any temperature water to brew any tea. Should you use boiling water to brew green tea? No. You should not use boiling water to use green tea. You are not going to get the best flavor. Now, you guys know me. I'm a huge fan of... I'm going to tilt this down a little bit. Nah, it's okay. My table's dirty. I'm a huge fan... Hi. I'm a huge fan of using boiling water. I use boiling waters on basically everything else. Whites, oolongs, blacks... Chimens. Chimens are a tea that you're not supposed to use boiling water. It's supposed to be under boiling. I still use boiling. I like the flavor of boiling water chimens more. I think it's bolder. I think you get some really interesting notes. But I know that that's not the best flavor. Objectively, the best flavor comes from under boiling. You get a little more complexity, a little more aroma, it's more balanced. When you boil chimens, you do get more flawed, but you get more stronger flavors, right? But I don't boil green teas, and I don't boil yellow teas. Green teas and yellow teas are more delicate. Because of their making, they oversteep much easier. Black teas don't oversteep, they really shouldn't. And so I do not boil my greens and yellows because you will get an overbrewed cup. And once again, maybe you want that. Maybe, I have before, especially if I'm grandpa style and I have some cheap green teas, I'll just throw it in some water that's too hot. Though even then, I think I don't use boiling. But fine. But it's not going to get you the best flavor. Boiling green teas is not going to get you the best flavor. Okay, so then where are these creators getting this from? Why are they saying to use boiling water? First of all, I don't think they're intentionally lying. I don't think they're intentionally giving information, misinformation. One of them, at least, is very new to tea, and he's kind of sharing his tea journey as he explores tea, and he does generally do cheaper teas. The other one, meh. So where are they getting this from? They are getting this from tea sellers, I will say. And I know this because I have been told this by tea sellers, but not tea makers. And I've been told that I've been given a green tea, it was a Malfong, and this person used boiling water. And they brewed it with boiling water. I think it was even grandpa style, but I think grandpa style would double. I think it was grandpa style. They brewed it with boiling water, and they gave it to me, and they was like, look, it's not bitter, it's high quality. And then they proceeded to brew all the other teas at less than boiling. So where's this coming from? Where's this idea of boiling water to show you how high quality the tea is coming from? It's my hypothesis that this is coming from tea competitions. So if you guys don't know how tea competitions are becoming increasingly popular in China, and generally I really like them, especially for yenchas. But I don't like them all the time. They have 2 problems. So to understand my problems with tea competitions, you have to understand how tea competitions work. So for a tea competition, you have a cup about that big. I'm sure you guys have seen it. They put about 3 grams of of the tea in there. They pour in boiling water and they cover it, and then they put on a timer for like 2 to 3 minutes. And then they do a line of them. And then after 2 to 3 minutes, they pour them out. For tea competitions, they are intentionally oversteeping the tea. Very high leaf to water ratio, very high temperature for a very long time. They are intentionally oversteeping the tea. Why? What they are looking for is flaws, or more specifically, lack of. If you have 5 teas, let's say 5 yenchas, you oversteep them, and you have one that's super bitter, and one that's super sour, and one that's super astringent, and then you have one that's just like, a little bit bitter. That's the best tea, because a lot of these flaws will come from the making. And so the tea with the least flaws, even at the oversteep, shows the best making. They were careful about the yao qing, they were careful about the fermentation time, about the drying, making sure the water left the leaf, yada, yada, yada. And for that, it's actually really clever. It's a really good, interesting way to do it. But it comes with some flaws. First of all, I don't think it works for green tea. I don't think it works for green tea. I remember the first time I didn't even know they did this for green teas until I was at a shop in Huangshan, and we were doing a side-by-side Malfeng tasting, and the woman did it competition style. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? You're ruining the tea. Yeah, none of the teas tasted good. We'll get to that in a second. And, or I won't say none of the teas tasted good. The one that tasted good, and this is the point we're going to get to, was the one that was super bland. Because we had kind of drank them before, and we had drank them kind of on their own and normally, and there was one that was just like this super bland green tea. But when you brewed it long, it got a little bit of flavor. And this is my other problem with tea competitions, and I think this is where this high quality, for lack of a better term, bullshit comes from. These tea competitions favor teas that are light. And I made this connection. This connection was pointed out to me. This was pointed out to me here in the white tea region. Because I was having tea at the Wu family shop, talking to Mrs. Wu, and we were talking about these competition grade silver needles, and I said, I was like, for some reason, every time I have a competition winning silver needle, it's always a little bit bland. I always find it a little bit dull, a little bit bland. Dan, if you speak Chinese, is a word for that. Dan idiom, I don't know. And she goes, yes, because those are the ones that win competitions. Bland teas have an advantage in competitions. Because you think about it, let's go back to yenchas. I think yenchas are a great way to illustrate this point. You have 2 yenchas, you have 2 rogues, 2 cliff rogues. One of them is, when you brew it normally, gongfu cha style, is a little bit bland. The other one, when you brew it gongfu cha style, has a lot of flavor, a lot of texture, a lot of aromas. There's a lot going on. Gongfu cha style, the one that's more flavorful is the better one. But what happens when you overbrew these? You put these for 2 or 3 minutes, the one that's bland won't change much. It's still going to stay more or less the same. Hand's a little dirty, pumpkin's a little dirty. The one that's a little bland won't change much because it's bland, and so they're going to get a little bit more flavors, but not much. The one that's super flavorful, that's going to get too strong. That has a higher risk of getting bitter, of getting astringent. Competitions tend to favor lighter teas because the lighter teas stand up to boiling water better without getting bitter, astringent, whatever. So the problem is becoming, and I've seen this, and so obviously a lot of this is opinion, but it's opinion kind of based on what I've seen and talking to people. I've seen a lot of people will talk about teas in this competition framework. And so that woman was kind of the first example, but it's happened a few times since, where they taste teas and they judge teas based on the way they do it in competitions. And so I think that's where this idea of the high quality greens are the ones that can stand up to boiling water, because the ones that can stand up to boiling water would have won the competitions, or they can be boiled and not have many flaws, but they are bland. They are bland. And I think, and this is, and so when you have a tea, just because a tea can stand up to boiling water and not get better doesn't mean it's high quality. If it's bland when you brew it normally, it's not a good tea. You know, the Bilochuns I sold this year, great teas, a lot of flavors, people really liked them. When you put them in boiling water, they got a little too astringent. They got flavors unbalanced. They didn't become as good. So you're going to tell me that's a low quality tea? You're going to tell me that's not as high of a quality as a basic green tea that has no flavor but doesn't get bitter when you put it under boiling water? No, get the fuck out of here. So that's kind of my 2 cents. There are, there's, obviously once again, this is an opinion thing. I would actually love if somebody who disagreed with me would get in the comments and share their disagreements. I don't think I'm going to change my mind. I'm a little stubborn on this. But it is an interesting conversation about what is high quality, how do you judge high quality, because then the question becomes, okay, if I don't think that's high quality, how do I judge high quality? I'm going to taste good. But my taste and your taste are different. So this is definitely a bigger conversation. A lot of other parts are in there. But the point is, don't brew your green teas with boiling water. I mean, try it. Look, try it. Don't take my word for it. But green teas are not, the test of a green tea is not whether or not it can stand up to boiling water. No, I have never had a tea maker tell me to boil my green teas. I once had a friend in Huangshan tell me, like, oh, look, this tea can stand up to boiling water. And then she proceeded to go back to underboiling. It's common for green tea people to brew it under boiling. I've never seen anyone casually brew it boiling. Yeah, so that's that. That's my 2 cents. Take it or leave it. Yeah, if you've watched this far, thanks for watching. I am once again getting ready to move to Hangzhou, and then once I move to Hangzhou, there's going to be some cool stuff. So look forward to that. I appreciate all of you.